Monkey loves it.
Natoya cleans them up in the Doncaster. Blake Trumbull just in front, and Trumbull first up.
Malkovich and all Bandit go to the line together. Lightsaber had a kick, and Lightsaber won it well.
Welcome to another instalment of our Inglis webinar series. We're only days away from the 2022 Ready2Race Sale to be held at Riverside on Tuesday, October 11, beginning at 10 a.m. 289 two-year-olds have been catalogued. Joining me on this special Inglis Ready2Race webinar is trainer and experienced Ready2Race vendor Blake Ryan, Singapore-based trainer Tim Fitzsimmons, and my colleague Brett Gilding. Welcome to all of you. Thanks for making the time in your busy schedules to join us. Tim from Singapore, Blake and Brett, you have a new baby in the mix as well, just to make things more of a juggle. Welcome.
Thanks for having us, Gemma.
Thanks, Gemma.
Brett, we have one of the biggest catalogues ever for this Ready2Race sale, 289 lots, as I mentioned. It's certainly one of the strongest as well, lineups of horses. You've been heavily involved in getting the sale to this point. Can you explain, I guess, the evolution of this particular sale, why the breeze up sales are viewed in, or how the breeze up sales are viewed in the Australian market, and why we're labelling this one a most progressive sale?
Yeah, thanks, Gem. I think it's been quite remarkable, the rise of the Inglis Ready2Race Sale, and you can look at that from both the vendor's point of view as well as a buyer's point of view. If we concentrate on the vendors for the first 30 seconds, 5 years ago in 2017, the sales averaging around, 69,000, the mediums around 50,000, you're clearing 60% of the horses and you're turning over about 5 million. Fast forward to 2021 last year, average close to 110, medium 80 grand, clearing an astonishing 87% at a Ready2Race sale, which is as good as anywhere in the world, and turning over $12 million. So from a vendor's point of view, obviously there's been a market there established where they can buy quality stock as yearlies and present it at the Inglis Ready2Race sale and get a good return, which first and foremost, it's important to their business to produce racehorses as well as get a return in the ring. And then you flip that around to the buyers. Obviously the buyers are after two things: A, value, and B, success on the racetrack. And I think the last 2 or 3 years have highlighted the success of the graduates out of the Inglis Ready2Race series. Forgot You, Gunstock, Doucier running second in the Oaks. See You in Spring. In fact, we've had as many stakes winners out of our sale over the last couple of years as the New Zealand sale has, and they've had double the amount of horses offered. So, we don't sort of like to compare ourselves to other sales very much. We don't generally go down that line, but I think it goes to show that the quality of the horses there for the buyers to find if they do their homework. So not only are the vendors now getting the success in the sales ring, the buyers are purchasing the right horses and they're going on to stake success. And the sale is only as good as your graduates, as we always go on about.
Well, it's great to have Blake and Tim on this webinar, both vendor of stakes winners, and Tim, you're training them over in Singapore. Blake, first to you, you've been a big believer in this two-year-old sale concept, and you've been involved in this sale for a few years now, and it's involved in its growth as a vendor as well. You've recently become a trainer in your own right out at Hawkesbury. Can you feel the shift in the attitude with this sale in particular and the breeze up concepts here in Down Under?
Oh, definitely. I've been a vendor for 5 years, but previously I was riding in this sale at breeze ups for probably 3 to 4 years before that. And during that time, the shift has been phenomenal in the attitude and the shift. And I think a lot of that credit is due to Inglis's and Mark Webster was big on trying to grow the sale and as well as finding vendors, such as myself, that wanted to do it with them. And I think we've come along on a ride together where it gives us an opportunity to go and source a nice horses a yearling, whether that be for little money or now you can go there and buy a good quality horse, and you're taking a good quality horse to sale. And I think it shows in the results and the turnover and the returns, and there's graduates on the track are showing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Saw you and many of our Ready2Race vendors at the sales this year at the Yearling Sales Classic Easter Premier, looking for these horses to be prepared for the Ready2Race sale. Tim, you share a connection with Blake. I mentioned you're a stakes winning trainer over in Singapore, and you've obviously you've trained Relentless and Golden Monkey, and both could have been bought for $30,000 at the sale. A trainer of those Blake Ryan Relentless graduate Big defining moment in your career, Golden Monkey as well, being your first group success.
Yeah, it's quite incredible. The 2 stakes winners that I've had have both been from Blake.
Yeah.
I'll definitely be checking out his horses at this sale. But Relentless was actually the first horse I ever bought as a trainer. He was only 30,000, and he's won a Group 2 race. He almost won the Derby, ran second in the Derby, and he's one of the favourites for the Gold Cup. So yeah, for me, the sale's been amazing for my career for sure.
Yeah, you're doing very well in the Trainers Premiership, I see over there, and amazing strike rate over in Singapore. You've been there since 2007, is that right?
Yeah, so I was with Cliff Brown for 13 years, and then took out my own license about 3 years ago. So yeah, and obviously the Ready to Run sales have been a massive part, even when I was with Cliff as well.
Yeah, the trade is really the foundation of the Asian market, the buying of the trade horses. You're already familiar, obviously, with the positives and the success of Breeze Up sales. How strong is the appetite for these type of horses?
Look, it's always been our main sale, the Ready to Run sale. It's sort of, we don't have the owner base that wants to wait too long for yearlings and educate them. So for us to go to the Ready to Runs where everything's pretty much done for us, it's massive. And I think with COVID and not being able to get to the sales for a few years, I think the appetite to get back to the sale is as strong as I've ever seen it. And I think more trainers than I have seen in previous years are going to the sales.
Yeah, you were also involved with Debt Collector. I know he was a Breeze Up graduate. He went through a Breeze Up sale. Starlight over there in Singapore with Michael Clements. It's a graduate of the Inglis Ready2Race Sale. Wishful Thinker, Super Wealthy in Hong Kong. And we had 3 Inglis Ready2Race winners actually at Sha Tin on Saturday. So we're really performing everywhere. Blake, other than being the promotional part of your business, graduates are always wonderful. It must be a great boost to you and your wife, Jess, knowing that your system's working and the yearlings you're selecting are doing the right things as racehorses.
Oh, absolutely. And both horses that we mentioned of Tim's that are his stakes winners, they're both different ends of the spectrum. Like I won't take any credit for Golden Monkey. He was a horse that things went wrong with, and he needed gelding, and he didn't handle the day well, and he ended up going through another. He was there to be offered, and he could have been bought, but he was passed in, and he went through another system to get to Tim. But Relentless was on the other hand. He was very well picked by Peter Toomey. He was a horse I always had a little bit of faith in. He was related to a horse called Buddies in Hong Kong, and he's a half brother who's by So You Think, and this horse by Hello Crown. And he was just a bit backwards and a bit weak and needed time, but he always moved really well. And I remember everyone that came to look, obviously there was a lot of interest from the Hong Kong base that was there at the sales because the brother was performing. And I think they were a little bit disappointed and they wanted to see a big, strong, ready to go sort of horse. But this horse Peter was smart enough to see through the cracks with him. And I said to everyone that came and looked at him, don't knock the horse until you watch him move. And he's the reward for a bit of patience and doing your homework. And to see him, well, Tim won't say, but he should have won that Derby. But he got out top of the straight, he wins.
Who rode him harder, you or the jockey?
No one rode him harder than V. Jurek. Don't worry about that. To see him go there and do what he's done, it's a real... you have some people mentioned, how do you let a horse go for that? And he's gone and done that. Well, we want to be a seller. Yeah. And the reason I think we've grown our business is because we are. And whether it be you take a loss on the odd horse here and there, or you make a really good result on the other horses here or there. But it's all about an end product and a full, you've got to run the full gamut of what sales are all about. And to see horses like that gives me as big a kick out of anything as seeing, $300,000 horses go on in races. Because you need both.
Yeah, especially do. Brett, we have mentioned the strength of this catalogue at the start, but can you just give us a bit of an overview for the 2022 sale, the size represented, the vendors, both new and returning? Because the vendors, as Blake's underlining, are a huge part of the success of this sale.
Yeah, absolutely. The quality of the vendor is paramount in the success of the sale and the confidence in the market. Hence why, the sale has got to where it is. We've got some great loyal clients that are coming back to the sale next year. Obviously, Blake, Simply Lodge down from Queensland. Of course, they sold Alpha One last year, which topped the sale. They'll be back. Hanover Lodge. Glenhaven, Baystone up from Victoria, a few returning vendors from New Zealand, a Hookia, John Malcolm, Cheltenham Stables, Kiltannon Stables, which is Mark Forbes. So we've really got the catalyst of those proven, world-class preparers that have backed up again this year. And then we looked at a few new people, not new to the game, but new to our sale. We're very excited to have the likes of A-List having a draft with us, as well as KBL down for Queensland, a farm in New Zealand called Lenark Lodge. They're bringing over about 8 horses, and probably the biggest coup for the sale is Riversley Park. Of course, they're responsible for selling Golden 60 up to Hong Kong. Sam Beatson is world renowned as one of the best preparers of ready-to-race horses in the world. He's got a great eye for a yearling, and to have someone of his caliber at the Inglis Ready2Race Sale for the first time, I think it's a massive boost for the sale, and it's a massive boost in confidence for the market as well. So the quality of vendor is there, and of course, we've entrusted them to go source the horses, and you name the stallion, we've got it. Exceed and Excel, Russian Revolution, Per and Canto, Deep Field, Savabeel, Fastnet Rock, all the proven size you want, and some really exciting new ones like the Autumn Sun, Written By, and Justify. So there's a great diversity of stallions across the catalogue, and there'll be something for everyone, for every budget, from your 20, 30 grand all the way up to the top end of the market. There'll be horses to be found.
We've somewhat grazed over this topic already, but it's a question I've posed before regarding this sale, and I always am interested to hear the thoughts every year in this webinar. But why buy a breeze up horse? What would you tell a person coming to this sale to promote the fact that they should buy out of this? Brett, I'll start with you, given you're the last to talk. What are the advantages to a purchaser buying a breeze up 2-year-old compared to other purchasing options? Not to downgrade, obviously, buying yearlings as well.
Yeah, look, you've just got so much more information than you do as yearlings. You can see them work. You've got times over 200 meters. You've got height. You've got weight. Harping back to it, but you've got trust. Not that you don't have trust in a yearling vendor, of course you do, but people trust Blake Ryan to source a nice yearling. He can produce a stakes horse. People trust a Hookia Lodge. And so they can go to these people that are preparing these horses, and they've done the hard work for you. These vendors, they live and die by their reputation. The horses have been very well prepared to race. They're not prepared just to run 200 meters. They're prepared to be race horses. All the break-in and pre-training has been done, and they are ready to race. They're ready to go to the races. It's their reputation on the line. So, there's massive advantages. The risk is reduced in buying a breeze up horse, because all that information I just reeled off is available to you. They're all breezing on the synthetic track now. A huge proportion of Australian horses are trained on a synthetic track, whether it's here in Sydney, down in Melbourne, and up in Queensland. So there's absolutely no disadvantage to buying a horse that's breezed up on a synthetic track. So look, there's back to the vendor. You've got to trust what they do. You follow them in, and the results will speak for themselves.
Tim, I'll jump to you next in terms of asking why buy a breeze up horse. You've had the experience of doing so successfully over there, but education, as Brett and Blake can attest to, is such a big part of this sale. And is that a big factor in why you would buy out of this sale?
For sure, education, and we can see the horse's temperament, we can see the horse's action. It just cuts out so many doubts. You buy yearlings. You really, it's a big risk for our market. It's a long time to wait, and I just think it just works. It just works for the Asian market. It's a stressful environment up here. Relentless is a perfect example. Like, he's just got a beautiful temperament. Those are the sort of horses that do well up here. So I think for us, it just makes things a lot easier buying a horse that is ready to race.
Well, that's right, because between the yearling sales and now, they've gone through a prep like any other 2-year-old, and basically that they can handle that stable environment, and going into the stable, working on the track, like their bodies and their minds have stood up to it. That's a huge bonus.
Exactly. And that doesn't necessarily mean we're looking for a horse that is a 2-year-old. We're still looking down the track to look for a horse that will make a nice 3, 4, 5-year-old. But it just gives us a better idea of what they'll be able to cope with. We can go and see the horse, can see its action, and I think that's the main thing. the times not necessarily really factor into our decision making. Me and Peter Toomey, we barely even look at the times. Many other factors more important, than that.
Yeah. Blake, that's a nice segue into you as well. We spoke the other day about the ready-to-race sale and the 2-year-old factor, but it's great when horses like Malkovich can run in a Golden Gift. We had a horse run in our Inglis Nursery 2 years ago as well, but we're seeing these horses still win 3, 4, 5, 7-year-old Natoya winning a Group 1. So these are the bonuses of this sale. They've already been through a prep and showed what they can do.
Oh, absolutely. And these horses, they've had yearling preparations. Say a horse that goes to Classic, yearling preparation through January, sale February, month off, break into the stables, back out a month later, another prep. Then they have another sales preparation. Then they go to the sales and they parade all over again. I've seen horses I thought had great temperaments and were able to handle this. Then when they got to this sales week, they were going the other way a little bit. And those ones that do handle that, they're the ones that can handle going to Asia. They've got to get on a plane, they've got to go there. It's a boxed environment. And you can really, it gives a trainer like Tim and other trainers throughout Asia, they've got a lot less doubt over the horses they're getting. And they've had, we treat ours like they're race horses and they're not there just to run up a furlong, and times are becoming more and more irrelevant to me as a vendor. I'm not going there at a yearling sale just for looking for a horse that looks fast, just looking for a nice horse that I want to work with. And the proof's in the pudding. When if someone can have get a horse off you and it's winning races at 3, 4 and 5, well, it's winning prize money that they can come back every year and buy their next one. They get a horse that falls off the perch after 12 months, well, they may not come back. And that's repeat business is what grows a sale and what grows a vendor business and what makes trainers happy.
Tim and Blake, next question for you. What factors are important to you or your clients or buyers that you speak to when it comes to buying or assessing a breeze up horse here at the sale? Tim, starting with you. You and Peter Toomey work well together. What are you looking for? What factors are important?
Look, so basically Peter gets the sale before me because obviously time constraints, and he will get a short list of about 40 horses, then we go through them together. But as I said before, we're looking for a racehorse. We're not looking for so much a 2-year-old. We're looking for a horse with scope, good temperament, and these basically the bulk of my stable is made up of ready to run horses. So that is my main market. We do buy some tried horses. But yeah, we're not looking for 2-year-olds. We're looking for horses that are going to go on and hopefully run in the Guineas, run in the Derby, be Gold Cup horses later on. So yeah, that's what we're looking for.
Blake, you're looking at them in both ends, really. You're looking at them as yearlings as well for this sale and also for your stable, and then you're looking at your draft plus others here at the Ready to Race sale. What are the important factors for you?
Oh, attitude's perfect thing, and I'm looking for scope. So I'm looking for a horse to train on, but if the right one that's a little sharp horse that looks like he's going to go, well, we're in the right country to be purchasing a horse like that. And I think one thing that is another advantage of this sale, you've got horses, I know, doing vettings and x-rays post-breeze, that some things that a horse might have are more forgivable now because they've been under that pressure and because they've got to this point than would be as a yearling at a yearling sale. I know I've had horses in the past, and I'm sure I've got some here that as a yearling they were what was rated a moderate risk hasn't changed because they've coped with this pressure and got to this point. A vet will rate it as low or low to moderate because it hasn't caused them any problem, so it's probably not likely to cause them any problem in the future as they've been under that pressure. And I think that's another advantage to this sale. But going around the sales, I just want to buy a nice horse that looks like it's going to go and win races and have the right attitude to do it and be trainable.
Yeah, trainable, the main word there. The education part, again, we always push it, but it is a sale that is so heavily based on the education of these horses. It means that they can go into the stables and perform for their owners. The times of the breeze ups, Tim, you mentioned just this just before. Not a huge focus for buyers these days. You said you don't really take much notice of the time, you and Peter, when you work together. It's about seeing the horse breeze well. What do you mean by that? What do you want to see in a breeze up video? Because you'll be watching them before you arrive here on the weekend. Is it their balance, their movement, their shape? What is it that you're looking for in those videos?
Yeah, for me, you just want to see them doing the work, in themselves. I'd much prefer to see them doing that than pushed out and sloppy action. Myself and Daniel Marr just went through the last probably 5 years of all the really good horses in Singapore that were bought out of breeze up sales, and honestly, 90% of them didn't breeze up in quick times. Some of them really slow times, but they all had a common trait in the fact that they carried themselves well. They had nice actions, and they were really well educated as well.
Blake, you ride your breeze up horse, not all of them obviously because you do them in pairs, but when you're looking at the videos back or when you're riding them, what are you hoping for out of those horses? Because they're all individuals obviously too.
Oh, just move well and look like they're enjoying their day. Sort of, it's a really
enjoying their job.
Different way to put it, but if a horse enjoys their work, well, they're not under extreme pressure, and exactly like Tim was saying, I'd rather go out there and run 11-2 on a horse and look really like he's really doing it well and enjoying himself than going that little bit quicker and look like he's flat chatting, his legs are all over the place. I don't think there's any advantage to that, and I think the vendor base has realised that over the last 4 to 5 years, definitely in the time I've been doing it since I started. When I started, it was all about the clock. And I think that's due to the buyers being smarter as well. There's a lot more agents now involved, and they're getting people, especially through the Asian market. They're not just, oh, I want the fast horse,
Yeah.
They've got a lot more.
Because traditionally,
it's the information superhighway. It's the information superhighway. Like 7, 8, 9 years ago, it was harder to find out what you paid for a yearling.
Yeah.
And so now everything's there. They can see parade videos from the yearling sales. They're still up online from 4 years ago. You can see what they came from and where they've gotten to. And it just gives the buyers are a lot smarter, and the vendors had to grow with it, and I think they have.
And Blake, the vendors have grown with it as well, and the quality of the vendor. But I mean, some of your counterparts out there, even like Hanover Lodge Jade and Hennick. These are great horsemen and horsewomen that are educating them well. But first and foremost, they know how to produce a horse mentally and physically.
Oh, absolutely. And like Matty Vella, he breaks in a few of mine every year. He did 2 of my racehorses this year, and I've got 2 pre-trainers at Hanover myself at the moment. So they're around and you know them, and you're a little bit of a family, I suppose. Due to you're all doing the same thing as much as you're in competition with each other. But if I know that Hennick or Matt are having a good sale, then the market's good, so I might have one too. So we all ride everyone's ups and downs because we're all going to have really good sales, and we're all probably going to have years where we don't have great sales, but or disappointments with certain lots, but as the same as any yearling sale. So definitely, we've got our place, and everyone knows each other and tries to look out for each other and do our best.
Brett, you'd see as many of the breeze up videos as any of the buyers, I'd say, watching them over and over again. You used to voice them up until this year when you had the new baby. But when you're looking at the videos or you're helping your clients, what are you looking for in a breeze up video, noting the times by some of our really good graduates?
Yeah, look, I've just been repeating everything that Tim and Blake have said. I think everyone's pretty much on the same page now. So, just a nice action, doing it well within yourself. For me personally, I like to go look at the horse and find a horse that I physically like the look of. If you're advising for a client and they're a trainer and they've got to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and go look at the horse every day, you want them heading in there and going, geez, I love the look of this horse. I love working with him. He's got a great attitude. Et cetera, et cetera. So, the physical attributes of the horse is really important to me. Of course, temperament and, how they breeze, et cetera, all comes into it as well. But yeah, that's one of the big things I focus on. And look, in terms of times, the boys have touched on it, just reeling off a few, like Group 2 winner Ali Bar, he breezed in 11.3. Starlight was 10.75, Super Wealthy 11.26. One of the best horses to come out of the sale is a horse called Rumour Says from last year's sale. It's 2 for 2 over in Perth. It's undefeated, and it breezed up at 11 flat, and it cost $80,000. So it just goes to show, you don't need the big budget all the time. Your horse doesn't have to fly up in 10-2, and everything the gentlemen have just highlighted all comes into play in terms of finding a nice horse.
And that's not to say we should knock the ones that do run time either.
No, absolutely not. Look, and just on that point, Blake, I know obviously we've been pushing the times. Alpha One, ran the quickest time at the sale last year. He flew up there at Eagle Farm. Of course, he was undefeated this prep, and then he went to the Main Stakes and he ran into Giga Kick, got beat a lip. Now, of course, Giga Kick's undefeated. He's now in the Everest, favourite for the Coolmore. So he doesn't run, of course he ran into him, but he doesn't run into a horse like that. And, he's a Group 3 winner. So, and he did run the fastest time. But of course, if you watch the breeze up, he does it so smoothly and so easily. So it's all relative to the horse's action and how they do it. Of course, there are plenty of examples of group horses that have run very fast time as well. So, pardon the pun, but it's horses for courses.
Pardon the pun, just this once. Blake, noting that vendors like yourself stress the importance of producing winners and the good race horses as well from your draft. What makes you look at a yearling at the yearling sale? I know you've spoken about you want it to be a racehorse, but what makes you think this horse I can prepare for a breeze up, sell it well, and it will go on and win races, because that's the aim of the game at the end of the day?
I do like to look at certain stallions that do work in the market, because in the end, it's not so much what I think, it's what the next person thinks. They're the one that needs to like it as much as you do. So I think it's a stallion that can work. I do like taking a punt. It might be a little bit contrary to some people. I do like taking a punt on first season stallions, but you're also probably more viable than your really proven ones. So what makes me go look at a yearling? I try to look at every yearling at every sale. But obviously, you try and work out the ones you've had in the past and had no luck with, or the breed may not handle. If you've had 2 or 3 of them in the past, and you go, no, maybe this breed doesn't handle doing this. Then I won't. I'll still look at them, because sometimes if you like the horse enough, it'll sway anybody's judgment on anything. But those are the main things. I try to look at every colt, as colts are our main focus for this. But I'm not against doing a nice filly either, and we do have a couple of fillies in the draft this year.
Yeah, a few fillies in the sale. I'm going to move on to the next topic. And you mentioned stallions, Blake, so it's another great segue. There are 21st season sires in this catalogue. Have the progeny of any of those caught your eye heading into the breeze up, Tim? Do you open a catalogue such as this one? You've been through it already. And are there sires you're particularly keen on having progeny of in your stable? First season or even proven?
Well, there's a few that we've done well with that we'll look at. Like Hello Crown's a perfect example. I think he's only had 3 or 4 runners here. He's won a Gold Cup and Group 2 nearly won the Derby. So he's a horse that obviously works up here. Shooting to win. I've got a really nice shooting to win at the moment, so we'll definitely have a look at those. But we'll look at everything. We do like taking a punt on first season stallions, because sometimes we have to get in that first year, because then if they do like a horse like Sapido, for instance, he's going to be really difficult to buy now. But last year we managed to get one which goes well. But our market, we sort of almost have to get in before they go boom, and then you can't buy them. So.
Blake, in your draft or overall catalogue, there's to name some of the stallions: the Autumn Sun, Trapeze Artist, Justify. You obviously had a lot to do with Trapeze Artist at your father's stable, Gerald Ryan's, when he was in work. National Defence, I think you've got one of them in your draft too.
Yeah, we've got a National Defence. He's a nice horse. We've got 24 different stallions in the 29 that are catalogued. And that's another thing I like to do is have a wide range. I don't like doubling up too much, but obviously when you've got other clients you're getting horses ready for, that can happen, and you find the right ones. But we've got horses from proven stands like Street Boss and Say You Think and deep fields, and to like our first season stands, National Defence, Real Steel, a prized icon. I've got a nice prized icon that looks like he's going to be a nice miler, maybe even 2,000 metre horse later on. He was out of the May sale actually from Karinga's draft, but we've got Mendelssohn, we've got Harry Angels, and then we've Lean Mean Machine.
Brett, it's a good time of year, isn't it? Because it's exciting because we've got the first 2-year-olds racing of the season with unveiling these new stallions, and then we've got the Breeze Up sale as well. So there's plenty of choice there for buyers.
Yeah, it's always exciting to see how the new progeny sort of hit the track. Obviously, there was a 2-year-old trials in Australia a couple of weeks ago. We had the breeders in Jim Crack on the weekend. Some new stallions were represented in those races, and Justified Trapeze Artists, and they both went very well. Written Buyers had a couple of trial winners, so they're all showing a lot of promise, which is great this early on. So even the likes of the Autumn Sun, I know we've got an exceptional horse coming over from New Zealand by the Autumn Sun, and there's big raps on this colt. So it's going to be no shock if we're sitting here in 12 months time and Timmy's saying that, look, I've actually just bought a Written Buy and I want to buy another one, but it might be out of my budget. So, I think this crop of 2-year-olds are very, very exciting with what they've shown so far.
And Brett, just sticking with you, the value out of this sale, Blake sort of mentioned it earlier about the fact that you can have all different ranges of prices, whether it's from the yearling sales or buying from this sale, the $30,000 Relentlesses that go up and win a stakes race in Singapore. What are some of the value results, the graduates from this sale?
Yeah, look, Lightsaber, he cost $100,000 at the sale a couple of years ago, and he won the VRC size as a 2-year-old. You got the likes of Predetermined, Group 2 winner at Moonee Valley. He was $47,500. See You in Spring was $85,000, a 2-year-old stakes winner. And I mentioned Rumour Says before was $80,000 from last year's sale. So, look, there really is great value to be had. We'll go on about it all the time, but there is a horse for every budget. And as we know with horses, they can come from anywhere, and the results show that the top price and expensive ones can fly as well as the cheaper ones. So, you do your homework, you go look at them, you watch the videos, and you'll be able to find something within all those different price brackets. And off the results that's happened over the last few years, you've got a pretty good chance of finding another good one.
Blake, I know you talked about the stallions in your draft. It probably wouldn't be fair to have you on here to ask you about the draft in general. This is your biggest draft you've offered at the Ready2Race sale. It was 29.
Yeah, definitely our biggest draft.
Did you say it was easier doing this than having the newborn baby, baby Charlotte?
Yeah, I said that, but I'm not so sure anymore. Definitely our biggest draft, and like we started with 4 horses in our first draft, and they all went to the races and all won. And then the next year, I think we had 12, and 8 of those raced and won. And after that, I think we had 16, and 13 have raced for 11 winners, including the stakes winners, including Relentless and etc. So, and it's just kept growing, and a lot of those, I haven't purchased. A lot of these are, I'd say probably 50% are clients ringing up to ask us to offer and prepare their horse, which is always welcome, because they came with horses to train as well, so you'd never say no to that. And it's made it a lot harder work, but I'd like to think we've done our best to keep our processes in place that have got us to this point.
Have you changed anything, or is there anything you would have learned quite a lot over the years of doing it, and also now training yourself out at Hawkesbury?
I've changed something every year.
Yeah.
I think if you don't, you're not growing. If you're standing still, you're going backwards. I sort of believe in. So just little things and feedback you get from your buyers and on how they want a horse to be, how they want to receive a horse really, and do they want more barrier education or none or less? Because we started off with none and now we do some, because I was of the belief at the time that I didn't want to be sending someone a horse that may have a problem if the barrier, so I didn't bother taking them there. But now we do a little bit, and obviously the breakers educate them through the gates. But we've had horses that have experimented, I suppose, with preparing them. Last year we jumped a couple out. So we tried it again with a couple this year. The ones that I just knew would handle it, and you just got to work on the feedback with odds, and also what your client wants to sell as well. But yeah, we've evolved a little bit, changing different things. More preps, less preps. What we do between when they breeze and when they go to the sales.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll see what happens in the proof on the racetrack.
It will be. Tim, you get a bit of the proof on the racetrack with the horses arriving in your stable. When they come in from a breeze up sale, they obviously just take to the system so well over there, and they keep all the owners really happy, obviously.
Oh, for sure. Look, we don't have time to be educating horses over here.
Yeah.
We don't have facilities. So when you do have a horse come up, like Blake said, that is a problem in the barrier, the problem just gets bigger and bigger because we don't have the facilities to deal with those sort of things. So we really need horses that are going to come up here, go through our system, and be ready to race. So that's what we're looking for, and we need horses that are well educated, because if we get these horses that come up, the owners aren't happy. It takes a lot longer to get to the races, and the stressful environment of Singapore, it just doesn't cater for educating horses.
And here in Australia, obviously, you started off in Australia in your early training career. You had a lot to do with the big stables in Victoria. I mean, the 2-year-old prep this part of their life cycle as a horse, not just a racehorse, as an overall horse. It's the most important part, really, isn't it? It lays the foundations for their entire life.
Oh, for sure. And if they're not educated properly at that age, it just creates so many problems down the track. Yeah.
And you can give plenty of kudos to the Ready to Race horses you bought off Blake then over the years, or Peter Toomey has. Well educated.
Yeah, for sure. I'll definitely be the first place we'll be going to see next week, that's for sure.
Well, before I say goodbye to you, your thoughts on the catalogue that you've seen, this one in particular. You haven't been able to be here in Australia the last 2 years due to the COVID pandemic. You're here on Sunday. You've had a look through the catalogue. Any horses you're looking at or you're excited to see? Any vendors you're excited to see?
I just think it's probably the most even bunch of horses that they've had there for a long time. I think the sale toppers aren't as obvious as other years. And even with some of the breeze up, some of the better breeze up horses are probably not the really popular stallions. So I think it'll be really interesting.
Brett, last question for you, and a bit of a long one, but we talked about the evolution of this sale at the start, and this sale and breeze up concept has been on an upward trend here in Australia and New Zealand for a few years, but it's really been the same in the Northern Hemisphere as well. I know that last year's leading 2-year-old was Native Trail in the UK. It was purchased from a breeze up sale. They've paid significant money for horses in America from these types of sale, and it's been a success over there. This is a really great time for buyers, just to push it home that this could be great value for money if this sale's just going up all the time.
Yeah, as I mentioned at the start of the show, Jem, obviously where the sale was 5 years ago to where it's at now in terms of turnover and averages. And of course, that's good for vendors, but also, we need the buyers to feel like they can still come here and shop for value, which they certainly can. But if you take examples of what you just mentioned there, Native Trail, like he cost 210,000 guineas, at the breeze up sale over there in England. He won 2 Group 1 races as a 2-year-old. He came out and won the 2,000 guineas. He's one of the most exciting horses and best horses in the world, and he came through a breeze up sale. And I think off the back of the results over the last few years, the quality of the vendor, the quality of the product, the yearlings that these guys and ladies are sourcing to prepare as racehorses, and one step of their racing career is to be sold through the Inglis Ready2Race Sale. It's just given the market great confidence to come to the sale and buy a nice horse. We've been on the phone to a lot of the buyers, a lot of the agents. There's a lot of people coming down from Singapore and Hong Kong. A lot of syndicators have had great success out of the sale, which is great for everyone involved because there's more horses in the catalogue. Blake can prepare more. Instead of bringing 5 or 10, he can now bring 20 or 30, which means there's more choice for buyers, which means there's more opportunity, to find an elite horse. So it all works in a beautiful circle. And at the moment, it's going very well. And we're very excited to see everyone out here later in the week. And we'll have to dust off the gavel and looking forward to getting up there on Tuesday and knocking a few down.
Great stuff. Well, 94 winners for the last 2 Inglis Ready2Race sales to date, and that grows every day. It's all about the winners on the track. Looking forward to seeing you guys out here. Blake, you're here from Friday when inspections start?
Yes, we arrive on Friday. We've got 4 or 5 breezing up tomorrow. I think there's a handy one amongst them too, or two. So then we'll get them over to the sale grounds on Friday, and we'll be parading from Friday afternoon and in full swing.
I'm looking forward to seeing you out here. And Tim, you're here Sunday. You have a busy couple of days going through. You said you look at every horse.
Peter will look at every horse.
Yeah, he'll do the
legwork. Will be a lot shorter. Yeah, so I arrive on Sunday morning, fly out after the races on Saturday, and then head back on Wednesday.
So you'll be going through the shortlist with Peter?
Yeah, we'll go over the shortlist on Sunday and Monday, and then we'll come up with a plan.
Well, thank you for joining us, Brett. We'll see you in the office. Thanks for coming on.
We look forward to seeing you out here, and of course, if you need any assistance or help, there's plenty of members of the Bloodstock team. We've looked at all the videos. We'll go look at all the horses. So if you cannot make the sale, feel free to give any one of us a call. We'd be more than happy to help out.
And if you're actually not able to attend the sale next Tuesday, we have a live broadcast starting with a special preview show at 10 a.m. on the Inglis website, also on the Inglis Facebook page, coverage to be hosted by Jason Richardson. I'll be roving around getting reactions from the buyers and vendors. No doubt I'll speak to Tim and Blake there on the day, and plenty of other people here too. Thanks, guys, for joining the webinar. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you out here on Tuesday.
There's your dominant 3-year-old, and Golden Monkey loves it.
Natoya cleans them up in the Doncaster. Late Trumbull just in front, and Trumbull first up.
Malkovich and all bad to go to the line together. Lightsaber had a kick, and Lightsaber won it well.